Sego, welcome to Lesson 2. By now you should have the hang of using the Anki flashcard program, and hopefully you have a good handle on the material from the first lesson. In this lesson, you're going to learn the verb root nuwis, which means to like something. Now, when you open your handout right here from the Unit 1, Lesson 2 vocabulary, one thing that you're going to notice right away is that there's a bunch of red text here. The red bits are prefixes that describe the relationship of someone to something. Now, prefixes are part of our root word method. You'll notice in the lesson block I've put in a link to a video on our website from our YouTube page. And this is a video called How We Do It.
Or any Iroquoian language.
It's a good idea to watch this video if you haven't seen it before, just to give an idea of what we're about to embark on in terms of word combining.
For example, the word ronas.
Well, learning Ganyan Geha is all about learning all of the many prefixes we have. The prefixes describe the relationships between people and things, and are at the core of understanding how Ganyan Geha works. So you see our root verb nuwis here, and at the front is this red prefix. In Ganyan Geha, we work with these root words and then we build out from there. So this is a present tense of a stative verb, and that's the most simple thing to learn, so that's why we're starting here. So in this lesson, you're going to go over only the first 5 of this particular set of prefixes. There are 10 more for this set, and we'll go over those in another lesson. So the first 5 that you're learning here are the prefixes that describe the relationship between I, you, he, she, and it, like something. So we have ge nuwis, se nuwis, ra nuwis, ye nuwis, and ga nuwis. So you're learning the present tense for how to say I like it, you like it, he likes it, she likes it, and it likes it. So that covers the first 5 words on our vocabulary list. The only thing to note about these words is that you see this H in front of senuis. It's kind of grayed out. I'll talk more about that when we get into negating the verb. So for now, just think of that H as always being there, but right now in this state, it's kind of hiding. So practice saying those words and remember that the pronunciation is in your Anki deck. One thing that is really helpful when you're learning to associate those prefixes, these red part of the word, with an actual meaning, is to point at an imaginary person when you're saying the word out loud. So I'm going to show you an example of what I mean using a video from our U1L2 YouTube channel. We have a lot of videos on here, so I'm going to click on one of our playlists. We have a playlist here called Prefixes, and I'm just going to show you part of this red prefix video.
Ge nuwis, I like it. Se nuwis, you like it. Ra nuwis.
So that's what I mean about pointing to yourself at an imaginary person to associate those prefixes with an actual person. So that example is from a video on our YouTube channel. So there's a whole bunch of other prefix videos on our YouTube channel. You can take a peek just to see how many more prefixes we're talking about, but don't get ahead of yourself and start studying all of them like crazy. Let's just stick with these first 5 for now and build slowly. A good foundation is really important. But later on, these are pretty helpful later on down the road when you start learning more. Next on our vocabulary list, we have a few particles. Ezo, which means a lot, as in I like it a lot. Ezo ge nuwis. And then we have ustunha, which means a little. Nikji, which means but. And notice there are no stresses or accents here because those are single syllable words. No need to figure out which syllable to stress when there is only one. Yah, which means no. And then we come to yah de. That de dot dot dot. This is what we use to negate something, anything. To negate a statement, yah de is attached to the verb. And when we attach that, we sometimes have to make some modifications to the verbs. For example, verbs beginning with the letter R, as in ranuas, the R here has to change to an H. And then we would end up with yah de hanuas. So remember that H is an R when it's not negated. And remember when I said that H here, the hiding H in senuous, well, this is where it comes back when we negate it. So we would have yah de senuous. Now this happens so that H remains a true S sound. Otherwise, like we learned in the last lesson, the S would be between two vowels and become a Z sound. And we'd have yah de zenuous, which isn't how we pronounce that. We have yah de sanuous for you don't like it. So notice also that the de here attaches right onto the verb. It's not floating out by itself. And the verb is this whole word here, genuous, I like it. The newest part is just the root. By itself, it doesn't mean anything. You can't just say newest. You have to say who likes it, and you need the tense as well. We always hear people asking, how do you say, and they'll give a verb, and we always answer by asking who and when. Each verb in ganyageha is very specific as to who is being talked about and when the action is happening. So we have yah de genuas, yah de senuas, yah de hanuas, yah de yenuas, yah de ganuas. Next up we have some vocabulary, some nouns. The root ksa'a means child or children. So we have boy and girl, raksa'a, yeksa'a. Then we have the noun root ungwe, which means person or people. So we have rungwe, yagungwe, man, woman. Notice that the R is a common factor for talking about males. Like we have rungwe, raksa'a, ranuis. And the Y is common for talking about females. Yenuis, she likes it. Yekde yenuis, she doesn't like it. Yeksa'a, girl. Yahgungwe, woman. Next we have a couple of names. We have Dawit and Wari. A lot of older, more biblical names have a ganyageha version. David and Mary. And then we have this last section of words, which is how to negate a noun. We were previously negating verbs. Now we're going to negate nouns. So these are how we say that's not a boy, not a girl, not a man, not a woman. We're still using this ya and de. And when we negate a noun, you have to add something to the de, because the de can't just float around by itself. It always gets attached to a verb directly or to this thing here, ga. We end up with the particle ya dega. So we have ya raksa'a dega, not a boy. Ya yaksa'a dega, not a girl. Ya rungwe dega, not a man. Ya yagungwe dega, not a woman. Ya Dawit dega, that's not David. Ya Wari dega, not Mary. Also note that when we negate a noun, the noun fits in between the ya and the dega. So you say ya raksa'a dega. So next up on our lesson block, after you have watch this video is to get your Anki flashcards. In the lesson block, you'll notice a little note here about merging your decks. This is the next part of the deck that you're going to use. So you're going to click there, and then you have to follow these instructions for how to merge your Anki decks. If you just click this, it's going to make itself into a new deck in your Anki program. And if you don't merge them, you're going to end up with a lot of decks for every single lesson that we're doing. And you want to be working with a single deck over the duration of the course, because that's the way Anki works best in the program. So follow these instructions and continue to study your cards every day. And make sure you repeat your Ganyangeha words out loud while you're studying your deck. And lastly, watch your dialogue video and the dialogue lecture video and follow along with the dialogue script. So that's it for the vocabulary in lesson 2.